Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and here is my very first animation card. I am using supplies from the new May 2017 card kit from Simon Says Stamp. So I will have the card kit as of right now. It's still available. They do sell out quickly, but I will have as much linked separate from the card kit as well in the supplies below. But I started off with some pattern paper in the kit. This is Illustrated Faith Designer papers. And their papers are like 4x6, I think, something like that. So I chose two papers I wanted to use, and I trimmed them with one of the Simon Says Stamp basic rectangle dies. And I trimmed a piece of white cardstock with the same die, and I used that as my guide to line up the two pattern papers. And then I covered the seam with the pink side of one of the papers. And then I ran that through my die cut machine with one of the smaller dies. So I basically created a frame with those pattern papers. So once my frame was created, I used that same die here. I have it laid out on my trimmer, and I just use that as my guide to trim down this grid paper. This came in the kit. These are new stamps, or new to me. I don't know how long they've been on the market, by Yuchi, I think that's how you pronounce it, design. Again, I'll have a link to that line through Simon Says Stamp. They have this exclusive set, plus there's like a bunch of other stamp sets. I've had people asking on my unboxing video if I had links to the other sets, etc. So I'll just have a link, just a general link to all of it, so you guys can check it out if you're interested. They're different. Like, I remember seeing things like this in the stores when I was little, and I haven't seen anything like this on the market when it comes to like us card makers and stampers and that. And like I said in the unboxing video, I was so lost at first, but then once I saw how it worked, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So I trimmed down that grid paper, not grid paper, it's lined paper, it's transparency with the lines printed on it. So I trimmed that down and I adhered that to my pattern paper frame. And then I've got a piece of white cardstock here, and I chose the Flamingo stamp from the set, and I made sure I had it straight. So that's where I used the lid of my Misty to make sure that the lines were all running straight up and down. And I used my Misty in case I had to stamp it again a second time, which with this I didn't. So I'm stamping it onto Simon Says 120 pound white. It's smooth cardstock with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And here I'll give you guys a little like sneak peek. This is what it's supposed to do. It's so fun. So when you move it back and forth, it makes the image basically move. That's where the animation comes from. So this little flamingo is like, you know, bopping his little head and his leg. It's really neat. So my plan was to trim a little notch out the side of this frame I'd created. So I just used one of Simon Says circle dies to do that, to make it easier to grasp the cardstock that the flamingo was stamped on. And then I want to basically create a channel for that piece of stamped cardstock so it can just kind of move back and forth and not slide all over the place. You know, you kind of want to keep it straight. There's other ways and like really interactive, fun ways to do this too. I think their YouTube channel, if I remember to link to it, they have videos showing like other ways to use these as well. So there's kind of a lot of options, but this one, I didn't watch any other videos. I know they explain it really well. I didn't bother watching. I wanted to see if I could do this on my own, you know, figure it out without it being too difficult. And it actually was pretty simple. So I used some washi tape just to tape that into place where that notch was, so that that can stay in place and I can flip it over and then I can see where I want to adhere just some strips of cardstock that I trimmed down to create my channel. And I just made sure that there was no adhesive sticking out the sides of these because I don't want to glue that piece that needs to move back and forth onto the inside of my card. So I created just a really simple channel with just the same cardstock. You don't need foam tape or anything like that with this, because this isn't like your typical slider card where you need a lot of movement or anything. Like, this just needs to slide back and forth right against that acetate. So I thought that one layer of cardstock would be good, and it was. So I just went along the perimeter here and adhered the strips of cardstock. And then that way this piece will just, you know, slide back and forth right within that and still be lined up. So once I got that done, I'm going to cut a piece of doll pink cardstock. This comes in the kit with that same circle die. I thought it would be nice to add a little bit of reinforcement to the edge of the slider piece. And also just to kind of give an indication of what it's supposed to do. I had also thought about, like, you know, you could write with a really fine tip pen, you know, saying pull here, etc. But my writing is atrocious. I do not like using my handwriting on cards unless it's just to write a message on the inside to a person. But for design purposes, no. So I just used the pink cardstock and I scored it in half with my Teflon bone folder. I used the channel of my paper cutter as I showed there. And then I adhered that onto that piece. And then I applied adhesive just to those white strips of cardstock there. And this is where that second die cut rectangle comes in handy. So I used that to create basically my like slider channel just to finish off the back. So it's just white on white. So it looks a little bit cleaner. And then of course I had to play with it again. So that's kind of roughly how I wanted this all to work. So now I'm just going to like actually decorate the card. So I pulled out Simon's Painted Hello wafer die, which is one of my favorites. So I die cut that 3 times from that same doll pink cardstock, and then I'm just going to stack these together. So I used the Tonic Nouveau glue that I've been showing in the last couple of videos. So far so good still with this stuff. I'm really enjoying it. So I just applied a really thin amount. The little tiny bits here and there that did ooze out, I just quickly wiped it away with my finger and it was fine. So stacked all 3 of those together just to give it that extra, you know, depth and whatnot. So plus I just like the strength it gives it when I'm adhering it to a card rather than just a regular sentiment, if that makes any sense. To me it does. So it just gives it extra. So stacked all 3 of those together, and then I'm going to apply the adhesive again to the back of this and then adhere that directly to my card front here, letting it kind of go over that little acetate window I've created. So once I've got that adhered into place, I ended up deciding to add some orange cardstock to this, and I trimmed it down to just slightly bigger than this rectangle. And then I adhered the window piece with foam tape to that. And the orange just kind of brought out because there's a little bit of orange in the pattern paper. So I just thought to, you know, mix it up a little bit. So I adhered that with foam tape. And then my card base is that same Simon Says 120-pound white cardstock that I had cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. So it'll be a top folding A2 size card. The inside this time I kept super simple. I just trimmed down the remaining bit of this hearts and arrows pattern paper that I used on the card front. So I just trimmed that down, and then I'm going to adhere that to the inside of the card and adhere the card front to the base. So I just used ATG adhesive for that and adhered that right onto my card front. And then to finish off the inside, I just added this little strip of pattern paper. So got that in there. And then I decided as a final little bit of embellishment, I grabbed some doodle twine from my stash. This pink goes really well with Simon's doll pink cardstock and ink. So I cut a good long length of that and then wrapped it around the card front here. And then I'm just going to use my reverse tweezers. So you start tying your knot and then grab the reverse tweezers so that they'll hold that good and tight, so then I can fiddle and get my bow perfect. Because that's the one thing when you use baker's twine, it's already twisted. So trying to make bows and that, they just like to do their own things. So using the reverse tweezers to hold it into place gives you a chance to kind of fiddle before you pull everything tight. Once you pull things tight, that's when it starts getting more difficult. So got my little bow the way I wanted it to and decided to keep the ends really long because I just like the look of it. So let that kind of hang and then trim off the excess with my scissors. And then as a final little bit of embellishment, I grabbed some Doodlebug, what are they? They're not, I wanted to say sequins because that's what I use. Sprinkles. Doodlebug sprinkles. I had these primary orange ones and I was like, ooh, that'll go with the orange cardstock. So I adhered a couple of those into place. And then finally, I was finding I was still having trouble kind of grasping the edge of this slider. So I thought to make it a little bit easier, I took some more of that doodle twine, doubled it up, and then I'm kind of wrapping it around this little pull that I've created, and then I'm just gonna use my little Tim Holtz tiny attacher, this little baby stapler that I love. This thing is like, I've had this for years. It works fabulously. So I stapled it, and then the back wasn't completely stapled, so just to ensure that it stays in place, I added some more of that glue and then some Scotch tape over that, and then taped it yet again just to hold it all into place and so it slides smoothly like back and forth and won't catch on anything. And then this, it also kind of makes it obvious, you know, pull here. So that finished off my card for today. This was really fun to make and actually fairly quick and easy. So as always, I will have links below the video to my blog post, to all the supplies used, the card kit, etc., etc. Check out the description box below the video or below this video if you are on my blog watching this. All that info will be below. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, thumbs upping, and commenting on my videos. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.